So you love podcasts, and you want to listen to more amazing content, but you have no idea what to listen to. And your friends keep telling you about great episodes, yet you can never remember what they told you. Well, here's the answer. Good Pods. It's the social app dedicated to podcasts, where your friends, podcast listeners, and favorite podcast hosts all come together to share on their feed what they recommend and what they listen to. You can connect to others, bookmark episodes, start a conversation about the episode, connect to the hosts, and most importantly, listen to great podcasts right in the Good Pods app. Download Good Pods wherever you get your apps and start sharing with a community that loves to listen. Good Pods. It's where to connect and listen.
What are you waiting for? It's time to Thrive Loud.
Welcome, everyone, to a special episode of Thrive Loud. This is the Thrive Loud quarantine episode, recorded 6 feet away in my driveway. Today on Thrive Loud, I bring you a guest who has been very instrumental into delivering many guests on this program and also contributing on many of the milestone episodes as a really big fan. And this episode was actually supposed to be recorded on April Fool's Day, but with everything going on with COVID-19, shelter in place, quarantining, we didn't really feel up for doing an April Fool's Day episode, but we figured maybe a social distancing episode would be appropriate. I bring to you a big fan of the show, rock star in himself, former high school and college, and still playing lacrosse at this age. We won't share his age, but he's still in it. Jeff Dorst is on Thrive Loud. Jeff, how are you today?
Thank you, Lou. Appreciate it. It took almost a power outage to get me on this episode.
So this is true. Those who follow me on social media will know that I had my power out earlier this week. I had some work to do, and very creatively, Jeff, who lives nearby, has a generator, and I was working outside, and we actually started doing the social distancing, and it was there that this idea was spawned that we should record this episode here today.
A safe distance from one another.
Safe distance. We'll have some artwork for this episode, but most notably what you need to know is that we are separated right now by a 6-foot-long table, a 12-foot-long cord between Jeff, the microphone, and the recording device I'm using to record outside, along with some Lysol wipes and tissues, and we're not wearing masks right now, but we're far apart enough that we're okay, I guess.
Along with some ambient noise as life drives by.
It's okay. Yes, we're trying to make this real. This is in my own driveway. Someone's backing out of it. What we wanted to do, though, we had a message today. We actually had some topics to cover here on Thrive Loud. And Jeff, who is one astute individual, is going to be fun, entertaining, and you guys are going to like this. And for those that are fans of the show, while I can't bring all the fans on every time, this is going to be one interesting representative, one who knows this show fairly well. I'd say you know it pretty well. You agree?
I've certainly been behind the scenes on a couple and have listened to plenty.
Let's start off with the world we're in right now. Okay, we are currently social distancing from one another. You also happen to work in New York City, and one of the ideas that spawned this episode was I got a chance to see Jeff take a picture at the very beginning of COVID-19 hitting New York, when we started going from about a 50% workforce, 75% staying home, and then everybody staying home and staying at home, which you're supposed to be doing. He took a picture in Grand Central. Can you describe that image? Because it was, to me, surreal.
Yeah, the picture was taken on St. Patrick's Day, which was a Tuesday. I was one of 8 in my office on that Monday and one of 2 on Tuesday before I became of the right mind to stay at home and get out of Manhattan. So when I went home on that afternoon, I walk into Grand Central at a little after 3 p.m., which is usually bustling with any number of tourists and certainly people exiting a little bit early in the workday. And I think in that picture, you can probably count on your fingers the number of people in that photo, as if it was taken at 1 o'clock in the morning when Grand Central closes.
But I used to work on Wall Street. Jeff still works in that industry, and I can tell you that St. Patrick's Day was always affectionately known as as amateur hour because a lot of young kids would go into New York City for the parade and to drink and celebrate. And it's one of the most crowded days in New York City because there's a parade and everything, and it was basically empty. And that's what New York looks like right now. I mean, New York City, Times Square, all these places, because people are staying in their homes or in their apartments. And we commute in. I can't even imagine if anyone's taking the trains inside. Just explain maybe a little bit, how has working virtually in this environment, being quarantined, been for you?
I'm fortunate enough to be in an occupation where I can work from home, and I know that's not the case for everybody. But certainly, it's a challenge not being able to, exit the office, go talk to people, socialize a concept very easily. Now it's a lot more scheduled. Also harried, as some of our services are in high demand, so the workday starts very early and goes quite late. You've certainly got to alter your perspective in learning how to change your line of communication and be able to communicate brightly and briefly, as Lou,
Nice.
Stealing from you a little bit there on your little exit tagline on this show.
So let's talk now a little bit about what it's like being at home. For the listeners, Jeff and I both have children. He has children in the high school years right now. I've got one college kid and one who's the same age as one of his children. And talk about what it's like for them being at home intraday while you're working and while they're doing their schoolwork virtually.
Yeah, it's almost like the home office. Each of them is doing their work, but to a certain extent on more of their own schedule rather than a classic high school schedule. I have a senior and two sophomores, but they're adjusting to it as well, with teachers either recording things on YouTube, Zoom classes, some optional, some not, as well as the high school workday has shifted from usually starting at or before 8 o'clock in the morning. Now I would say it probably starts somewhere closer to noon and runs into the evening time.
I'll even add to this. I want to bring this part up because this is amazing. Both of us have high school seniors, and I remembered when this first happened, the biggest issue was, being whether you're a senior in high school or those who are seniors in college, who are all actually in a mode of, oh my God, they're missing out on all of these rites of passage, which we feel awful for them. We don't know if our kids are going to have a high school graduation. That's still TBD. And obviously lots of college graduations have been canceled. Give me your thought, I guess, from the mood, because it is a perspective change. Like initially it was like, all right, we get how bad you feel. But obviously things have gotten a lot more serious here in New York. And do you think they kind of understand now, have a better appreciation of what's going on with COVID-19?
I think they do. I think the high schoolers have a little bit better perspective than probably some of the college kids out there that probably think they know more than they do. A lot of them are focused on the activities, or what I'll call the fun part of the almost the exit of high school. Obviously, graduation one. Prom is another big thing. You and I both have daughters. That's obviously very high on their list, and a lot of them have bought dresses already. And it's
been made clear to me that this dress will be worn for some reason or another, maybe for a whole week if possible.
Prom might be on Thanksgiving break for next year college, for all I know. It will be interesting. But yeah, all these things that they've been looking forward to and anticipated have now been thrown into complete disarray as to what may or may not happen. And not only that, and I know I'm front running your next question, which has to do with the college application, acceptance, and enrollment. That's created a lot of uncertainty and challenges in terms of picking a school, especially for those in the regular decision pool.
Right. No, and that's actually a great point. So obviously at this time of year, in fact, I will tell you, I was loving social media from this perspective as a chance to see something else aside from coronavirus or some fun virtual family meal or activity that everybody's posting, to see which kids were going to schools. And a lot of them who got into schools didn't get a chance to maybe go visit it because they've canceled college tours at universities. And it is a weird thing going on right now with colleges. We started talking about this before we hit record. We could be seeing a really weird shift. Let's talk about what you and I talked about beforehand about what's going on with colleges as it relates to, are kids actually going to go away to bigger schools? The economy is taking a hit. Give me your quick 2 cents on this process, because a lot of people are going through this challenge, if you would.
Sure, especially for those that haven't made it, a commitment yet to a school. Obviously, number one, COVID-19 in terms of the selection process, one thing, but also the finance component. Obviously, given the state of the financial markets, 20+% reduction in the equity markets, that's probably impacted a lot of people's money that they had saved, both in regular and 529 accounts, as to how they were going to plan to pay for college for the next 4 years or so. I would imagine for some people that affects the decision process. Especially in comparison from a private institution, which are on the pricier side, versus in-state university tuition, which is usually materially lower. If you look at I'll flip it over and not look from the student side, I'll look at it from the university side. I'll pick either Albany or Binghamton, since we are New York residents at the moment. Each of those has an undergraduate enrollment of about 14,000. So when they do their admissions criteria, they're aiming for the yield of a class of about 3,500 kids.
Right.
If a lot of the kids, especially from the Northeast, who tend to go to schools or are more likely to go out of schools out of state, if the finance there becomes questionable, they may then enroll in the state institutions. And you were planning on 3,500. What do you get? What happens when 5,000 kids say yes?
Yeah.
What do you do? Where do you put them? And with unemployment or whatever, state budgets are potentially going to be constrained, and that's a compounding effect, I think, that could happen in New York. And certainly for some of the bigger state institutions like UMass and UConn, which have student enrollments, 50 to 100% greater than the two schools I named.
Yeah, and I guess if there was a flip flop of this, I'm sure the admissions department is like literally juggling like with formulas and percentages with something they never dealt with. But I guarantee you, international students might not now come. So you have a big chunk, a certain percentage of them that might have trouble at least starting. I've also heard kids are taking a gap year because they might want to delay this process or figure out what to do afterwards. So it not only affected the economics of it, it's socially affecting what kids our kids' age are going through right now, and it's actually really interesting. I've seen some unbelievable conversations about this, and these chat boards from universities, like these Facebook groups and whatnot, have never been more active. And I give the universities credit. At least they're trying, each one of them, to try to communicate as best as they can. I have a college student. Every other day, there's something giving an update. Every day, what's going on, where they are, because they've been displaced. And I was actually jumping to this. This whole displacement is the hardest part. Our daughters, who obviously would be freely out and about, I rarely see them. I'm seeing a lot more of them than I would have ever expected. And I think they're probably tired of us. So let's talk about virtual social activities. Jeff, I know you play poker and normally belong to a group, by the way, as his wife, who is now 14 feet away from us right now, if we take the tape measure, came back in the background. This is true social distancing for podcasting at its best. You play poker in a regular game, do you not?
I play in a game where at the end of the year at the championship, the league winner is sponsored into the World Series of Poker main event, which has a $10,000 buy-in. Right.
So that's a serious playing, and you also socially, I know something you do. You have a bunch of couples that play poker like once a month or whatever.
Couples league, and my wife, who is our audience of one at the moment.
At the moment, yes. Which might be the only audience member of this. Who's going to listen?
Is, believe it or with no surprise, one of the top players in the league, and she gets bonus points for busting out spouses, which and she has completed what we call the triple Lindy, which is to win the tournament. She and I become the last couple left as part of the start, and bust me.
Oh yeah,
so that's the triple crown.
There's got to be a trophy for that. So, but now, obviously, since social distancing and not it makes it impossible for people to attend houses. Have you been playing poker virtually or online or in different games?
Yeah, actually, in compliance with what everybody needs to do these days, we have actually moved both of those games onto online into one of the online forums where you can create a home poker club and a closed environment, and have done that way. And we've also covered that with technology and using Zoom at the same time. So you're playing online, but you still have the ability to talk and chide others as part of the process.
So that's really funny. So my wife, who plays online mahjong, and she plays that in the game. They go into a room, and then they go into FaceTime on either a computer or their phone, and then they're all chatting with the 4 people that they have. I got to say this. I mean, look, it makes it easy. I actually think she's playing right now is the time we're recording this. She's playing in a mahjong game that was
That's why we
scheduled.
don't have an audience of 2.
That's
yes.
why there's an audience of 2, yes. Although the dog was here before. He may have gone inside. What I will say is, if there was one benefit from this whole mess that we're in right now, as the wind is blowing the box of tissues across the table. This is really funny, by the way. I'll have to wedge it between the Lysol and the
wipes.
And the wipes. If there's one benefit, since everybody's on pause, everybody has slowed down. They all have this ability to reconnect with everyone. I've been doing virtual happy hours. You're playing virtual poker and virtual gaming. Everyone is using that time at home. And I've seen people that I haven't seen in years almost in a much more frequent time frame. Has that happened to you, if there was a gift from social distancing in the world we're in?
Yeah, I'll even back it up and make it a larger commentary. With everybody generally pausing and having their regular schedules disrupted, it's given people a little bit of time to stop and look around and reconnect with a bunch of people. I just had a virtual cocktail hour with 20 of my fraternity brothers as our 30th reunion at Bucknell University has been canceled. It's been great to see everybody, and you stop and look around and hear what everybody's doing rather than being in your regular routine. Very reflective. It's been a really nice experience to be able to now actually take the time to do that, because now you can actually make some time for that.
Yeah, it's really funny. A lot of people have said I had multiple reunions of either people I knew from college or from summer camp years and years ago, to work colleagues I haven't seen in a long time. We all say when we get off a Zoom call or a conference call, hey, it was so great to reconnect. I can't believe we haven't done this sooner. I think there is going to be a weird window when we start going back to more normal activities and more of that we may miss some of that finding that ease of time. I'm not saying we were not going to be more happy to get out of the house, but I think there's a component to it. What do you think?
Certainly the case. I think people will try to preserve some of what that is. But the one thing it does really show, especially when you're, I'll call it, isolated with your family and around the same human beings almost 24/7, is the need for human interaction.
Yeah.
Not only telephonically, but because technology has advanced itself and being able to see other people even though you can't be there with each other on a first-person basis, it really shows the human connection and the need for it, and how it is healthy to keep that aspect of everybody's lives going, both professionally and socially.
I think it's true. I think what is interesting, and this is a perfect way I wanted to get to in this conversation. You and I are big sports fans and sports participants. Jeff more so than I am. He's still playing sport. You're still playing lacrosse at this age. I don't know why you're putting this torture on your body.
That would be called an error in judgment.
But what I will say is there's no sports on TV. And in fact,
there's no live sports.
No live sports. Okay, there's a lot of rewinding sports, old classic TVs. And last night 2 nights ago was unbelievable. ESPN, on the main ESPN channel, aired NBA players playing NBA 2K, the video game, and they showed them playing one another head-to-head on ESPN. I believe most of it was
I think it's
live.
now actually a tournament because I saw it on the scroller while I was forced to watch cornhole
Exactly.
on television, and my wife is looking at me with head scratchers like, this is more boring than watching golf.
So it is really interesting because I think part of the craving. I had a conversation with a client who's in the Southeast who made a comment. Goes, I miss NASCAR like there's no tomorrow. I don't care if you all think in the North, you Yankees think these left turns we're taking all day long is all we do. It's a social aspect. Some of them go for 5 days. It's an event. And people miss that connection. And I think if the timing works right as they start to figure out how to get sports back in, I do believe that there might be a bigger showing up for where people will be. Understanding social, people being aware of the seriousness of COVID-19, but I do know we're going to be craving, like you said, that connection via sports. What do you think? Do you think we get back to 70,000 seat filled stadiums in the NFL season when we get to September?
I certainly think we will. There will definitely be there's a high desire to return to normalcy. But I'll put this one back to you. You go to a movie theater and somebody coughs in the dark. What are you going to do?
I'm with you. You're all going to go, uh-oh. And I'm sure. Look, there's a component to this that everyone is going to be concerned. I think movie theaters get hurt. I think hotels. My family, we've gone on many cruise vacations. I can't see us ever going on a cruise vacation again. Just the thought of not that they wouldn't be safe and clear on the boat, but one person gets completely sick, the whole ship might not be allowed to dock, and I might be quarantined for 2 weeks after I go on a vacation. So these challenges are things that, until they have a vaccine, which is not around the corner, those are the components that will linger after I think we have this window of time.
I agree, and certainly if something, hopefully not of this magnitude, happens again, it's going to what I'll call the reaction behaviors will likely be strong and forceful, that people will at least get the message next time around in terms of, as they say, flattening the curve.
Yeah, I'm laughing, by the way. We've had cars walk by. I'm watching people walk around our neighborhood, and they're like, what the heck are those guys doing in the driveway? I go, look, this is normal. I think I should do this every week. Just have random people pulling by and just have conversation in my driveway podcasting.
We might have to change it. It's called Breakfast with Lou.
Breakfast with Lou. After seeing the numerous eye rolls my wife gave me for this whole idea, couldn't believe that this is going on. Not a chance. Speaking of which, by the way, I've texted my son. He's supposed to be bringing something out for you, which I think only Jeff's wife knows about here. So, I do now. Yes, you know. You know what it is. Okay, so I'm looking down the list here. All right.
The one thing I'll give you another observation of just how this has affected human behaviors is respect for others. If you shopping anywhere, people are immensely respectful of other people's personal or mutual personal space. Nobody's trying to cut in a line.
Yeah.
I've been particularly fond of how people have changed their overall behavior and demeanor as part of what I'll call our brave new world.
I will say this: we live in the tri-state area of New York, and New York gets really serious. And yesterday, it took me 2 hours to go food shopping. I wore a ski mask, and I looked around, and I said, "This is the weirdest thing ever." By the way, if I normally was driving in the car looking the way I did, I would have been pulled over by a cop because, I mean, literally, I looked like I was robbing a bank. And I stood in line, like you said, methodically walking through. When you walk through the aisles, you got to that conflict where you had the cart and you might have been on the wrong side of the aisle and, you're not waiting for somebody to pass. I've never seen people so courteous in my entire life. No, you go first. Before they'd be running to grab a box of cereal or a bin
Except
of
for
paper.
when the toilet paper gets put on the shelves.
There was no TP where I went to, although I think we're already stocked up. I think we're okay. Either that or we're just going to have to go in the woods or something like that. We'll live. Let's go through some signature stuff here, first of all, because we haven't done this in a while. And this is going to be the best question I ever ask you, because I always make fun of the fact that my good friend Jeff here doesn't watch a lot of movies.
I knew this was coming.
He doesn't. It's almost unbelievable, the movies that you haven't seen, but I'm going to throw that aside and say, of the movies you've seen.
Let's not go through that list.
But let's at least go through what movie you do enjoy, and a movie that you would say that's one of my favorite movies.
Wow. You're asking me to pick one?
You get to pick one. You've listened to the show. This is what we do to the guests.
If I have to pick one, my all-time favorite one, which obviously probably has the most quotes available to it that you can just say them and people immediately know the reference, would be related to your favorite sport, Lou, golf, which would be Caddyshack.
Caddyshack. Oh, all right. You know, we haven't had a lot of Caddyshacks as the favorite shows, and it's too good. I love that show.
It's high up there.
I listened.
Ferris Bueller being a close second, and in sort of in the dark, I'm going to give you a third because I'm not sticking to one. Would actually be The Usual Suspects.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I could see you. That movie is spectacular, and the dialogue too. I could see you liking, and I don't know. It's like not popular to say it's good, but Kevin Spacey was spectacular in that movie. So it was a great role, and Gabriel Byrne, that was the other one, was in there. All right, I want to talk on something that since we're going to bridge this gap here and wrap this show up really sweetly here. You ride Peloton, do you not?
I have been known to ride a Peloton.
Okay, so one of the best things that has happened in this quarantine is that the ridership and the number of classes being taken in Peloton have gone through the roof. So many people using it. Not only just cycling, but the other things they have. From yoga classes to workouts, they have more than that just on there. How frequently are you a rider on Peloton?
I would say I'm probably about 3 to 4 days a week right now. I'm trying to keep it up as they have an April challenge to do something each and every day. So I'm trying to mix it up in between cycling, yoga, potential run, stretch core, and I try to get in a quick Zen in 10 meditation session each day.
I had a meeting with a client where we met with their whole sales team virtually, and one of the things that we added into their itinerary, and there's a good crop of them that do Peloton, they all take rides together. Do you have a particular instructor that's your favorite that you like to ride?
I don't have one that's an odds-on favorite. There's a subset of them that I probably regularly ride with.
Okay. That's the perfect. That's the sound of the garage door opening. I have a feeling I know what this is.
We might have an audience of two.
Wait, no, this actually is going to be awesome because I believe. Can you get that white box in the fridge?
Sure, but I'm leaving. What do I go out of?
Oh, we'll move shortly. This made the show as real as possible. Someone actually needed to leave the house. Well, perfect.
Well, Lou, I love what you've done with the studio set there.
well, that's the senior in high school daughter. Okay, so we'll pass that on.
I will move more than 6 feet in a different direction.
Totally classic. I'm not cutting this. We are recording all of this. This just made the show. I think this will be the thing that'll be most. We'll move this to the front. So Jeff, last point. The last point to wrap this up here is what will you miss most when this is all over, and what will you not miss from being quarantined during this COVID-19?
What will I miss? The fact that the rather hour-long commute to and from my occupation, and a little bit more sort of borderline when it starts and when it ends. What I won't miss, nothing jumps out at me at the moment. Believe it or not, other than I'm looking forward to being able to go back and test out some new restaurants in New York City.
I was just going there. What I won't miss is not having an option to go to a restaurant. I'm totally with you.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to get back into the.
It's perfect. I'm so glad the car is pulling out because I think that's the ultimate cue to wrap up the episode. With that being said, Jeff, thank you so much for being on the Thrive Loud
emergency quarantine
episode.
Podcast episode.
Thrive Loud listeners, Jeff, thank you for coming on the program.
My pleasure. Desperate times call for desperate measures, sir.
And to all our Thrive Loud fans out there, thank you for joining us. Until next time. Keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
Indeed.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.